All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army match week number 3. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to start with the Premier League, where we will give the post-mortem on Liverpool Arsenal. We'll talk about some wild and wacky results from the weekend, plus some last-minute transfer business. Halftime will be a Dear Leader related weekly What If. Around the world, we got some USMNT chatter and preview of the window coming up, plus MLS Minute. And then stoppage time with Evan Toney's best bets and everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. Now, time to welcome in this week's panel of beauties, starting with back-to-back guest who has 2 weeks in a row here, and he's got a lot more to say about his beloved Manchester United. We'll get to that in a minute. Welcome back, Daniel Rapaport, great to have you back. Now, I know my brain is all over the place, but Dan, it's good to have you back. My question for you is totally non sequitur, but it is unrelated to the United thing. Has your perspective on the Ole's at the wheel era changed at all over the past, few years?
That is a fascinating question. Yeah. There was this clip that was circulating big time this week of Ole or Ollie or and Ollie. It's like one of those names that you feel like you're never getting right. Anyways,
I know that
he was doing one of those like end of the season announcements, or he's addressing the fans, and he apologizes for where they are in the league, and they just finished second. So yeah, it definitely makes I think there was never a belief that anything actually good was coming in those days. Not saying that there is now, but I'm not looking back on it being like, oh, I yearn for those days, because it's almost like I've embraced the suck. There's a stage of grief as a fan that I think is embrace the suck, and I'm there. And I think if you're still finishing second and third in the league, you can't properly be there.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, like, I think Amorim did a big sort of apology last year too, but that was
he said the good days are coming. He lied.
So far, so bad. We will get back to Amorim and United's sadness soon enough. Next up, we got Tyler Terrence. Mr. Tyler Terrence, where did your MLS travels take you this weekend?
Nowhere, because I was supposed to be down in Miami doing Messi and Friends against Chicago, but Leagues Cup postponed that game until Tuesday, September 30th. So your boy had the weekend off. So I actually went to go watch my alma mater, Hobart Soccer, play at Drew University against Keene under the lights in Madison, New Jersey at the New Jersey Division III Soccer Festival, a little preseason tournament. Nice. So that's what I did Friday night. I golfed with one of my best friends from high school in the world on Saturday. Barbecued here today in Cincinnati on a Monday, and had a fantastic little weekend.
That is a hell of a little weekend. I love that. All right, last up, never least though, Tommy McGunner. So I know this is a question I've actually been meaning to ask you for years. Why not now? So I know that you probably don't really follow FOTMOB ratings all that closely, but you had to have like seen, your rating after a game and just been like, thought about it. I'm wondering whether those FOTMOB ratings from a player who's actually getting rated, do they track with how well you feel like you played during a game?
Sometimes.
How closely? Well, first of all, is this like an every game thing? You go immediately check your FOTMOB rating?
Yeah. Anyone that, like, at least in our league, anyone that says they don't look at it is full of shit. It's like saying that you don't look at social media after whatever. Like, okay. I think that is in the sphere of I check social media. I'd be stunned if people at all levels don't check that. Sometimes it lines up. Sometimes I'm like, that was off, good or bad.
Okay. Either way, it doesn't it's not like it always is lower than you would have thought you played, or it's always higher.
No. I would say probably leans lower. I think there's got to be something in like how they value stuff, because like SOFA score is even different. Like if you see like the comparison between those two, like they must value different stats differently, or like
the
value for a win or loss or giving up a goal or whatever like has to be factored in a bit more. I would say when it comes to actually evaluating my performance, I don't use it, but I definitely check it.
Okay, fair enough. Love the honesty. All right, we will move on. Before we get to Premier League, a quick shout out to Sam's Army Patreon. Everybody's got to get in this. If you're not in it yet, what's wrong with you? Get in it right now, $3.99 a month. You get access to the Discord, which the chat is going all the time. We're up to, I don't know, 100 some people at this point. It's great. It's just a great little community. Everybody got to get in there. You also get access to the extra bonus episodes, Tommy's tactical blogs, etc., etc. Get in the Sam's Army Patreon. All right, Premier League. So we do have a Manchester United fan. We need to get into the Manchester United situation, but we can't start there. We have to start with the game of the weekend that everybody was tuned into. And that, of course, was Liverpool and Arsenal. Liverpool came away 1-0 winners on a late free kick. Brilliant free kick, by the way, by Dominic Szoboszlai. And that ended up being the difference in the game. Now, we do have a Liverpool fan, and we do have a Tweedle here. But before we get to that, let's ask Dan his thoughts as I don't know if I can call you unbiased, given your Manchester United leanings. But what is your sort of third-party thoughts on this Arsenal-Liverpool game?
Yeah, well, I didn't see much of the game, to be quite honest. I was with my in-laws this weekend, so I'm going to defer the actual like tactical analysis and all that stuff to Tyler. What I will say is I don't hate Liverpool as much as I think the average Manchester United fan does. I have a real in my loins, I really don't like City. City's the number one target of my ire. Liverpool, I have deep respect for. What I would say to Tyler, and I'll ask him, is most of the reaction that I saw online was almost a disgust with Arsenal at the way that they tried to play the game. I, having been on the wrong end of one of those Arsenal, Stoke Newington FC smash and grabs first game of the year, I understand the that emotion. Did you feel like they were cowardly going in?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people this week, I think, were honing in on Manchester United and Ruben Amorim, and for good reason, in terms of like arguably some of the most disgusting shit to have happened in the footballing world, particularly in England. I would like to pivot that and really talk about Mikel Arteta and how quickly he abandoned all of his principles, everything that Arsenal has built over the past several years. To the moment that Bukayo Saka is not available to play, he just basically reverts into kicking the ever-living shit out of people, hoping and waiting for set-piece opportunities. There was one team trying to play, and Arsenal basically tried to play Newcastle ball, but unfortunately they didn't watch the full tape because they didn't realize that Liverpool actually ended up winning that game too. So if I'm Tommy and somebody who's tactically inclined and is a lover of the beautiful game, I'm questioning all of my allegiances to Arsenal because it was a disgraceful performance from a club like that to just simply go out and just basically A, settle for a draw, and B, just try to bloody the game up as much as humanly possible. I thought it was disgusting. And as usual, Liverpool are able to sort of battle those demons. And now that we get Isak, like, good luck trying to do that with a proper number 9 who can hold the ball up. That's all I have to say for now.
Tommy, I think the ball's in your court here. Do you want to defend your beloveds?
Yeah. Like, one, you don't have Saka, you don't have Odegaard. You probably would have started Havertz in this game. The one thing I have an issue with, and Saliba goes down in the first 5 minutes, although I think Mosquera actually did really, really well. So he's fine. I do think that when you're talking pragmatic, I would have loved to see them start Eze. In the 20 minutes that he was on, he was significantly better than Martinelli. He just opens up part of the field that is like horse blinders and closed off when Martinelli's on the field. He can pass and he can use his left foot, so that helps a lot. That was the one thing I was disappointed with, but I think both the managers actually I thought were pretty honest and accurate. Slot saying 8 out of 10 times this game's a 0-0. One time we win, one time the other team wins, and then I think Arteta, you see like on All or Nothing, whatever that was, he as a player and as a manager is terrified of Anfield. I think he has so much respect.
He said some funny stuff after the game. He was like, "It's Anfield." Like, what do you mean? Like,
yeah,
we can't.
He puts that in its own category, and that's when you're an Everton player, and then you hear him talk about his playing career. So like, I think he calls it paraha, or like that was the word he used, where you're like a bird and everything's kind of like circling around you, and you can't catch your breath or your bearings. Like, that's how he describes Anfield. So I think that's like we're all human, and the psychology of Anfield for him has like clearly weighed him down to the point where he's very, very pragmatic there. And honestly had no issue with that. And then Szoboszlai.
You don't have an issue. Hold on a second. Hold on. You don't have an issue with your head coach having like a genuine fear of an opponent and a club that he quite literally is competing for a title with going on their home turf. Like me, I have a fear of spiders. Like I feel like that's pretty rational and that's okay because my job isn't to like kill spiders for a living. Mikel Arteta's job is to beat out Liverpool for a title race. You're okay with your head coach having like a genuine sustained fear?
Let's put it this way. Has beating Liverpool or not losing to Liverpool won Arsenal a title in the last 2.5 years?
I knew
this game is not the
reason why
Arsenal.
Nothing has won an Arsenal title in the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, like nothing has winning or not losing
that's a loser,
2.5 years straight to the Big Six. Congrats.
That same coach that's afraid of Liverpool is the same coach who can't figure out a way to break down West Ham in a low block, who can't figure out how to beat Brighton on any given night. Like that's the same guy. So if I were you, I'd be a lot more terrified of sort of like what this means in terms of like the longevity, because okay, I understand the injuries and I get that, but at the same time, Arsenal is supposed to be this guiding light of the beautiful game. And when you guys were at your best 2 years ago, you were playing the best football in the league, hands down, better than Manchester City for large portions.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree that in his chase for victory, he has gone away from the beautiful side of Arsenal that is so commonly associated with that club. They have lost some of that essence in order to win more. And I think Arsenal was always, oh yeah, they play great, but they always lose. And I think he's trying to flip that.
I think that there was a game to be had, and Jamie Carragher said it best, that if you had just played against Liverpool, you could have beaten them 4-3.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think Arteta thought okay, if all four of those guys are healthy, I think he's like, fuck it, let's do it. Let's
You're telling me that team that was rolled out there attacking wise was not as strong as Bournemouth or a 10-man Newcastle? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I do. Like who on that team are you taking over Semenyo, Gordon, Alanga in open field? I mean, that's how they scored all their goals. And then if you want to, Newcastle scored off a long throw and a direct free kick
for 50 million. I actually didn't think Madueke was terrible, but like Kirkez just was coming off of an absolute nightmare, and I feel like you guys made it so easy for Liverpool to set into a groove defensively.
I have a question, Tommy, from a player perspective. How explicit will a manager be with the team? Will obviously what he's going to say to the media is, we want it to be compact. Will the manager in the right before you guys go out there be like, we're going to try to win this game 1-0? Like, or will they still speak in sort of generalities of we want to stay compact, we don't want to take too many risks, or will they be like, let's just fucking battle it out there? Obviously, everyone's different, but I'm curious about like how the conversation is different in the locker room versus in the media.
I think he is very explicit about this is the plan. From like when you pick up nuggets from the players talking about Arteta, like how clear he is and detailed he is, I think that was super intentional. I do think some of it got thrown out the window 5 minutes in when Saliba got hurt and everyone kind of shut up shop in the same way. But I think he's quite clear. And to your point, Tyler, like City Liverpool played some crazy 4-3, 4-2 games where they both said, hey, we're just going to open it up. And I don't think Arteta thought that they had enough firepower to play that game.
Sorry, I was on mute there. So we've got some good comments from the chat, by the way. And if you're not in the chat, get in the chat by getting in the Patreon. So we got Trey saying if Bournemouth and Crystal Palace can go at Liverpool, so can Arsenal. We have JP asking, is Arteta on the terrorist list like Tommy Tuchel? And then one more question I want to get from the chat. Connor asked, or actually it was a comment, Arteta plays with handbrakes on. I would be much more scared of an Arsenal that played with swagger. So quick thing for you, Tommy. I hear all these people going at Arteta for, the game and for the result specifically. How much of this is really on the players? I mean, I thought Arsenal played pretty well, actually, and controlled, especially the first half. You guys had the ball. You were dominating the game, at least sort of the gameplay. like it seemed like nobody wanted to try and break a line with a pass or, do it. It just seemed like everybody was, we say this with the men's national team, everybody's playing scared. I don't think Arsenal players play scared, but like how much is it on the players not trying to make enough things happen?
I think that's very fair. I do
Instead
think,
of on Arteta, by the way.
like, mentally, Arsenal, I don't think played scared in the sense that they were aggressive. I think both teams were flying into duels. And Arsenal, I think, was trying to be aggressive and dominate territory instead of dominate the ball. And I think I agree with Tyler on that sense. It's like the balancing act of that. If Arsenal doesn't win a trophy and they've sacrificed their essence, like, is that worth it? Is it worth it to sacrifice that essence 10% more and come up short again? I do agree with that sentiment, but I don't think they played scared. I do think they tried to execute that game plan as best as possible, and then there's a mentality thing as well. We're like, oh, we're down our captain, we're down Saka, we're down one of our forwards, we're down Saliba. Like, these are the core guys. Those are probably 4 or 5 of your highest paid players too. And you're like, all right, now what do we do? And I think they were like, okay, we're just gonna muck it up.
Any last thoughts here, Tyler, on the Liverpool Arsenal game? What it means for the title race? What it means for Arsenal?
I mean,
or Liverpool?
Tommy's point about when has Arsenal dealing with Liverpool either won or not won the title. I like, again, this isn't going to come down to that. And I was watching the game with my dad, and I was like just getting all riled up. I was like, this could decide it. He goes, it's too early to decide it. I'm like, yeah, but at the same time, like, it's a vibe thing, right? These are the two sides that are favored to win the title, and it's just a momentum swing. But I just look at what Arsenal is sacrificing, like Tommy's talking about. And if I'm an Arsenal fan and all I'm hearing about is Mikel Arteta and the way that they're playing and bringing in the right people and changing the culture and going all the way back to the all or nothing that he was referencing and booting out Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and just sort of like hitting the reset button on the locker room and the whole thing, and you have this whole project that you've been building up for over a decade now, but now you're jumping ship on some of your main principles and sacrificing some of the beauty for a bit more of the ugly in the name of winning, and you're still not winning, and you're still dealing with these injuries, and these injuries have been pervasive in the Arsenal dressing room for years now, for years. So, like, at some point, I'm just looking at the whole thing, and I'm like, this is not a title-winning club for whatever reason, whether it be Arteta abandoning some principles, whatever it might be, and the physio's not getting it right with the guys. Like, I just look at that performance, and I'm just like, yeah, that's some. They tried to play schoolyard bully ball with a group that obviously wasn't as talented as they would like it to be on the day, and they fucking lost again. And I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way. Maybe it's because I want to see Liverpool play, and there's been zero opportunities to do that since the Bournemouth game between Newcastle and this game.
I think we also we take away nothing from this game if that goal doesn't that.
The narrative certainly changes.
The narrative changes. You're like, all right, it's too early in the season. Scratch this. Both teams playing like they don't want to lose the title in the third week.
I would have still been. I still would have been pissed off at the way that you guys played. But yes, like we don't take anything from it. But agreed. But at the end, it's a 6-pointer no matter what way you look at it. If it's Liverpool beating Bournemouth on a Saturday and Arsenal losing to West Ham, it's still a 6-pointer. So I don't know.
But the margins in this game were very, very small. And Szoboszlai, having an incredible free kick was the difference. But if that difference had gone the other way and Arsenal had actually gone into Anfield and won this game, which could have happened in a game like this, the whole narrative would have been completely different. So I think that the fact that Liverpool held serve at home like they did, I think that I make less of that than if had Arsenal gone in there and won that. Fair. All right, we got to move on. Manchester United. So Dan was on last week. Oh, and then
we had no idea what was in store.
We had no idea. Now you did win this weekend.
Whoa. Sorry about that. I don't know if you heard that. That was my fantasy draft starting, but I turned it off. Now we're good.
No, all good. So you did get a win, last gasp win against Burnley at home. Which,
damn straight.
I don't know if you want to talk about that at all or just get straight to Grimsby.
No, I don't know. Don't really want to
hit us with whatever's on your mind here.
Yeah, it felt like everything that all of the negativity really dating back to the start of last season. With Ten Hag only lasting until the beginning of October. Like really it felt like everything going back to August 2024, like all combined into this horrible hurricane that came down figuratively in the first half and then literally in the second half. There's the issue of just lack of professional pride. Obviously with United, there's all this narrative about the system. There's all this narrative about the players. They should have won 4-0 with a rabbit in charge, right? This isn't. I kept on saying, I'm a texter during games. I have 3 guys who I just relentlessly text, and I kept saying things that were not nice, and they kept on saying, "Oh, look how hard you're so harsh this 3rd game of the season." I said they're in the 4th division. I just kept on saying they're in the 4th division. Me saying something not that nice about a young player, maybe that crosses the line against Burnley. They're in the 4th division. They're not in the Championship. They're not in League One. They're not in League Two. And when I say it was a combination of everything bad, it was the personnel on the field. There was no one even remotely considering, or no one with anywhere near the gravitas to even like pull everyone in and like have like a players only moment, or to go in and you got Mainu in the middle who wants to leave. You've got Ugarte in the middle who knows that his future at Man United is basically, on its very last legs. You've got, Casemiro's on the bench, Bruno's on the bench. You've got, defenders who have been, there was no one with any sort of like gravitas within the team to do anything about it. And you could tell from the first 10 minutes that they were just completely dead. I thought he was going to lose his job. I thought he was going to walk away when I saw those tweets. And I saw the quotes came out from Amorim before the actual video came out, where he was like, the players spoke really clear, and everyone's like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And then in this presser on Friday, he kind of brushed over it. I'm not over those comments. I'm not over those comments. And I like I said on this, I like the guy. I really like the guy. I want him to succeed. I think he is a fantastic communicator. So I'm a big I don't understand you being able to be like, when my team loses, sometimes I want to leave and sometimes I hate my players. And then we just come back and act like nothing happened. Tommy, if a manager got up there and said that, like, I just want to go sometimes, that has to have an impact in the locker room.
Yeah.
He sounded like a madman in those comments after the game. An absolute
the job is broken him. It's totally broken him. You saw it at Burnley. Couldn't even watch. Couldn't even celebrate. Like he's in a mental vortex.
I'm so glad this is happening, because I was knocking on this door as soon as he got put in charge. I was like, I don't fucking see it. I don't understand his plan, and I think he's a lunatic. And I felt like I was taking crazy pills, but lo and behold, I was not. It was that guy.
So I'm interested to hear you say that, because what were your alarm bells initially?
My alarm bells were the flip-flop nature of how it was. I know it's Manchester United. I know we don't have time to rebuild and to ask the supporters to be patient. And then 6 results later, he completely went the other direction. And then he went on and then he started babbling after every single game, and he couldn't decide what he wanted to say. And I was like, this dude has no fucking clue what he's doing. Zero. Like, you have to, as much as you're a coach at Manchester United, you are also representing a brand, and you need to have a clear idea of what your message is going to be every time you step in front of the microphone, because you are speaking to a global audience. And to not understand that, and then to continue to do what you're doing on the field and pair it with this ineptitude every single time you open your mouth, like, I looked at the whole thing and I was like, this is a fucking disaster. Absolute disaster.
I'm really not over those comments, and I can't believe that we just moved past them all. It's really dark. We don't have any ability to control a game, to win a midfield battle. Even against Burnley, I thought in that second half, that's where they found their success, was right down the gut. Didn't bring anyone in. in the window to solve that problem. I have empathy, or I understand, I should say, that you can't fix everything in one window. But I think it's going to be a really, really long season. I think they're going to score a lot of goals. I think the numbers have actually been pretty encouraging in terms of, I know XG is a flawed stat, but just touches in the box and shots and all. Like, I think they're going to score goals. I think they're going to continue to give up a lot of goals.
Was he fired if they lose that game to Burnley or draw it?
I think he leaves.
I think he resigns.
I don't think
right.
it's a fire thing. I don't think they have.
Everybody keeps saying he's going to walk away. I think he's too insane to walk away.
I think he's so I think he's even more insane than he's on the other side of that insane conundrum, where it's like he's so insane that he's like, I'm going to protect my brand and like make this romantic walk away. I don't think that the club has the stomach to fire him again. I don't think, like Tommy said at the beginning of this, everyone's a human being. Arteta's scared of, if you're Barada, if you're the CEO of this club, you paid all this money to get Dan Ashworth in there. He's there for a couple months. You let him go. You publicly interview other managers all summer last summer, only decide, yeah, we'll stick with the guy that we have in the fridge, and then you fire him 10 games into the season. I cannot see them doing it again. I also have to leave, but I love you guys dearly, and I'll be back next time United lose to a 4th division team. You give me a call.
Anytime, Dan. It's great to have you. Thanks for joining us. Good luck with the fantasy draft.
See ya.
But somebody just brought up a good point. Trey just brought up a good point in the chat and saying Man United are so deep on his style and players they can't fire him. See, I actually happen to think that this group of players could play probably most styles and fit into most systems with coaches. Like, yes, they still need legs in the midfield, and I think not addressing that was their biggest flaw in the offseason, more so than the goalkeeper. Okay, but for me, the system and the players that they bought, like, miss me with all that shit. They have bought some extremely talented players, especially across the front line. Go fucking figure it out. Go figure it out. Like, and because at this point, that dude cannot be in charge of this club. He cannot.
You know what? Really, it's so small.
Do you think, like, I also think it's the last 5 people haven't done well.
Yeah.
Like, there's something bigger going on here.
I
think
it
stems all the way back to Sir Alex.
But that's old. But that's always been a part of this equation. The Glazers, like, and Ashworth, and like the whole way that this thing has been run, and bringing in Sir Jim Ratcliffe was supposed to be the stability. He's brought anything but stability to that football club. So, but I think with that in mind, Tommy, and maybe you're especially with what's going on right now in your professional life, you might be able to chime in on this. But I do think that there's a capability, despite outside noise and outside influence. And I know that, like, Barada and the people and the powers that be at the club have a lot of say in terms of what goes on. But with that in mind, I do think that the locker room can rally around the locker room and just simply get things done on the field, despite everything else that's going on outside of it.
Yeah, I do think that's.
But you need a really good coach in order.
I think the coach has to be a part of that.
Yeah, of course.
If the staff isn't rallying and it's us versus them in that sense, if it's like front office and coach versus players, that's where I think it's like this shit's not going to work. And I don't know what their feeling on Amorim is, and maybe that's part of his play, is just like to try to be as vulnerable as possible in public, so there's some sort of empathy or sympathy with him from the players. Like, you never know if that's intentional. But yeah, I just also don't like that they've signed like proven Premier League guys in the past, and those are the guys that aren't panning out. Like, you're paying a premium on them, and they're not doing what they need to do. Puts you in such a hole.
Yeah,
something's
deep. And the midfield thing is crazy. Like
the fact they didn't go out and get somebody to fill that hole.
For me, like, the front four picks itself. Your back six, whatever formation you want to play, needs some sort of attention.
All right. I mean, the funny thing is we've focused on these 2 games from 3 teams. There were a ton of interesting results this weekend. So, Tyler, okay, well, I was going to ask you, what result would you want to touch on next?
It wasn't just the result. It wasn't just the result, but it was the way you guys played. It was
we got Frank got franked. Just like he franked Pep the week before, he got franked by Areola. My takeaway from that game was, number one, for some reason I just kind of saw this coming, only because there's no real explanation. I mean, we should win. Bournemouth, by the way, is not a bad team. Bournemouth is a pretty solid team.
Fair,
right? Okay, but at home, we should have won that game. The Brennan Johnson, I mean, I think he was our top scorer last season. He's a great player. He's a great finisher. He cannot create anything. He cannot start a game like that. This has to have been, I mean, like, the fact that I see it means, Thomas Frank has to see it. You cannot have Brennan Johnson in a game where we need to create things against a team like Bournemouth. I can see him against a team like City, against a team like Liverpool, against a team like PSG. He's a great guy to have out there on the wing. Against a team like Bournemouth, he brings nothing to the table. So I'm very excited, to have guys like Xabi Simons and Colomani. Like, I'm very excited to have these new pieces to basically just put where he was in games like this. Other than that, yeah, I mean, it's just a disappointing result. I think Bournemouth deserves credit for being they're a legit Premier League team this year. I know that before the season, we're kind of like, well, are they going to be in the same sort of situation as like a Brentford? No, Bournemouth is good. But yeah, it was just a terrible performance, and I just give credit to Bournemouth.
Did anybody watch? I didn't watch the City game, but obviously I saw the result.
They're just.
They
don't look like City. They don't look like City. Like, it's. I don't know. It's weird. Like, Pep didn't shake the Brighton manager's hand after the game, which is kind of, I don't know, cheesy, low. It feels like something that, Pep should be better than that. But I think that alone speaks to the fact that he mentally realizes they're in trouble. Like, the City team does not look good. Yeah, that was my take.
So I had this thought this week. One, to your point, I think Brighton and Bournemouth don't get enough credit for just being really tough against these top teams. And against one or the other, I think one of them's always going to have a chance. Brighton seems to beat up on City and Arsenal decently well. Bournemouth has held their own against Arsenal, City, and probably Liverpool a bit. So I think that's just the depth of the league too. Do you think, I was talking about this in the sense of Gyökeres, for one season, maybe 1.5 seasons, Haaland was a great signing. Do you think it's pigeonholed, and it will pigeonhole Arsenal? Because I haven't really been excited about Gyökeres in the sense that, like, he makes Arsenal incredibly one-dimensional. I think Haaland does the same, but he less so. He moves a little bit better, and yeah, they're unicorns, but I think they pigeonhole managers that have been raised on fluid positional play.
100%. Is Erling Haaland a terrific footballer? No, but he's a phenomenal goal scorer.
Yeah.
And those are two incredibly different things, and that don't allow you to do certain things in the way that you move the ball and the way that you build up. I've said it for years, Tommy, and I'm still going to say it. I think that the best option for you guys at the number 9 position was Jesus. And I don't really know. I don't know why. I don't know why, outside of a couple injuries here and there, you guys just simply moved away from it. I still don't understand.
But to your point, okay, since they moved on from him, I still felt Arsenal was the most fun to watch with Havertz or Marino there.
Sure.
But like, it's the same train of thought, and I think City's getting to that point, and that's probably honestly what Liverpool's done the best is this last 2 years is they slot right away was, hey, Nunes, go scratch. And then he's brought in 2 guys, Ekitike and Isak, that, yeah, they're 9s, but they don't simply operate just there.
And Isak specifically, and I think that's why he's going for the price that he's going, because he's probably he's one of the few number 9s in the world that can do multiple things, and not just a moose who can finish in front of goal.
Other results: Forest getting handed a 3-0 loss at home by woeful West Ham. All 3 of those goals came after like the 84th minute as well. I don't even know what to say about that game. But
I got one thing to say about that. I picked 3 of Forest defenders on my FPL team, thinking that they were going to get a shutout, and I checked 80th minute. I was like, oh yeah, I've got this locked up, and then 3-0.
I mean,
so it's either time to change them, or they'll get the shutout in their next game, which is obviously against Arsenal.
So I picked up Chris Wood. This is basically along the lines of you. I picked up Chris Wood instead of João Pedro, so that didn't work out. Then I also started Wan-Bissaka for West Ham. Didn't get a minute. Didn't play at all. West Ham fucking shut out for us. So it's like a terrible across the board for me as well. Nobody needed a win more than West Ham, by the way. So I think we got to at least give him a shout out there. Trey in the chat, Potter's greatest spell has always been saving his job. Lasted far, far longer than he should have at Chelsea in the same way. That's a good point. Also, similar kind of situation, Crystal Palace 3-0 whooping of Aston Villa, where Unai Emery, people are saying the same thing about him as that some were saying about Amorim, that he's not going to get fired. He may walk away. I know that was the big chat in the Discord.
They look terrible, and Mikey called this, months ago when Villa was starting to flounder on the Champions League line and how much trouble they were going to be in if they didn't qualify. And lo and behold, they're in some serious trouble right now.
Yeah, I saw they made some last minute signs. They got Harvey Elliott, I think, and Jadon Sancho. Those would be some high profile names. It's interesting to see how they acclimate. Anything else? Sunderland beat Brentford, so the Black Cats just keep on keeping on. I love seeing that.
Yeah, we got to give Everton and Grealish some love.
Oh yeah,
I would love that. He's been killer.
So good.
And
so good.
I'll save my Goa for later. I think it's accurate. I don't hope I got burned by one of these fake accounts. But yeah, to have him back in the Premier League, them in a new stadium, them doing well, I think that's really good for the league.
Yeah, that's what Adam F said earlier in the chat. He's like, why is City so bad? Because Jack Grealish stole their magic. I love the Grealish storyline. Him going to Everton, him playing well. Like, I was excited about the move when it happened. And it's worked out exactly sort of like best case scenario where he's shouldering the load. He's willing to sort of make things happen. He's just the perfect player for a club like Everton. And it's working out perfectly. Obviously, we're only 3 games into the season, so slow my roll. But I love it. I love that storyline. I hope it keeps going. And Everton now is, they're in the 6th place, 7th place. Obviously, early days at the moment. But Everton is in 5th. Sorry, 5th place. Everton. 6th place Sunderland. The table, by the way, at the moment, like once you get past the top 3, which are to be expected, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, I don't think, I would have had Tottenham in the top 4. I don't know about anybody else. 5th place Everton, 6th place Sunderland, 7th place Bournemouth, 8th place Palace. Just an awesome table through 3 games. Love to see a little bit a different lineup there. All right. We are done quickly on FPL. Let's give some shout outs to the people who did well, aka not me. I think I'm still in last place in the Sam's Army Council of Elders. Yep, still in last place. 47 points on the week, which is about what everybody else got. Now, the top of the Sam's Army podcast wide league, Bowen Family FC, Robbie Bowen has been up top since day one, I believe. FC Tinkerton, Peter Frank is in 2nd. Frankenspurs, Cooper Lyon is in 3rd. King Dax is in 4th. And then GTM Made Easy, Andrew Horn is in 5th. And just a couple of the Discord sickos, Easy Breezy, Andrew Brzezinski's up top of the sicko. This is on the Discord specific leaderboard. Easy Breezy is up top. Kudos, he thinks he is. Carter Brock is in 2nd. And Carry On, my HM son, Jake K is in 3rd.
Who's in 4th?
What's that? It was in 4th. The Ghost of Darwin. Oh, that's why I was like, wait, why do you care? Ghost of Darwin, Tyler Terrence is in 4th place. Coming off of the last place. Oh, by the way, we still need to dance.
I know.
We need a dance from you. But yeah, you're in 1st place in the Council of Elders table as well. Okay, fair shout. I'm glad you brought that up. We don't really have anything to talk about for preview this week because It is one of our beloved international breaks. So we take a little break on the Premier League. Also, you can take a little break on FPL. We'll get back to that in a week or two. For now, we will head to halftime, where, before we get to our Dear Leader related weekly What If, a quick word from our good friends over at Kick It, the one-stop shop for all your soccer tennis needs. Tyler, what do the people need to know?
People need to know to head over to kickit.net, use the code SAM25, and that's going to get you a discount on the soccer tennis set. And it's going to show up between 5 to 7 business days, and you're just going to get it. You're going to open it, and you're going to realize, wow, this is a soccer tennis net. There's a ball in here that's designed for me because I have a dog shit touch. That means any of my friends can play, even Timmy down the street, who's never touched a soccer ball in his life. We can crack open a couple of cold ones, maybe a Pacifico, maybe a Topo Chico if drinking alcohol is not your thing. And you're just going to have the best time ever. Then you're going to hop on Sam's Army Patreon. You're going to subscribe, and then you're going to be in the chat for a live podcast. And you're going to be like, wow, thank you so much, Tyler, for talking to me about Kick It.
There you go. Everybody, kickit.net. Sam25, I believe, is the promo code.
Sam25.
Sam25. There we go. All right. We are in the halftime segment where we start with weekly What If, the hypothetical. If, Tommy, let's go you first. If you could assign, if you were just, the general secretary of soccer world for one day, if you could assign Dear Leader Jose Mourinho to a team tomorrow, and by the way, the reason for bringing this up is because he just got fired from Fenerbahce after about, 2 games into the season when they didn't make it to the Champions League group stage. He got sent packing. So, and by the way, he's now gotten paid almost 100 million, I think, pounds just to go away. That's just in sort of golden parachutes when he's gotten fired. Almost 100 million pounds. Shout out to Dear Leader for that. If you could assign him, Dear Leader Jose, to one team tomorrow, where would it be? Tommy McCabe.
The first one that came to my mind, even though the current manager has brought in some level of entertainment, would be Marseille. Those fans plus him, I think, would be insane.
That's probably true. I mean, he always has a good rapport with the fans, and the crazy fans are obviously, he had that with Turkey, right? I mean, there's no crazier fans than Turkey. Okay, that's a good shout. Did you have a second one, or is that one you're going with?
No, that's the one I'm going with.
All right, I like it. Tyler?
I think AC Milan would be a lot of fun for a multitude of reasons.
For the explosiveness with which he would go down in a ball of...
Yeah, and I just think that club is in such a fragile state at this moment with no European football, and he could either bring them back to the pinnacle of glory, or he could throw them into the Stone Ages. And I just I would have a lot of fun watching that.
Don't do that to our baby Jesus. We don't need that right now.
He would unlock Pulisic.
Okay, there we go.
You'd have him scoring against teams that are above 10th in the Serie A table.
I really want Jose Mourinho in MLS. I just think he would bring...
CF Montreal.
I guess I would take it, but I would want him somewhere sort of more in the middle of...
More first division-esque, not like a League One team.
Well, just mainstream consciousness of, the United States media market. LA, or the
LAFC. Toronto is leaving at the end of the year.
There you go. Okay, I like that. We're going LAFC with that one. Good shout. I actually had a compliment corner written down, but I feel like we should keep the episode moving. I was going to do a compliment corner for Erik ten Hag, who definitely needs some compliments at the moment after he just got... Speaking of getting fired, at least Jose Mourinho had been there for, however many years. Erik ten Hag just got fired after 3 competitive games.
Players must really hate him. They probably went to the front office and said, "We can't fucking do it with this guy."
Wow, something had to.
Or
one win, one draw, one loss, and you're gone.
They cut ties with him and we don't want this.
Oh,
I just kind of respect it. He's still gonna get paid. They were like, we're going to cut ties before this ruins our whole season. Fair.
Tommy, it's 2 games in.
3.
I don't. He's getting paid. I don't like at the end of the day, like yeah, he might not get another job for a while. He's getting his bag.
No, but I'm saying like,
Leverkusen gets the chance to be like, yes, I thought it was a weird hire in the first place, but now they've got a chance to actually save their season.
what is
And like
safe?
still make Champions League.
It's only 2 games in. I don't understand.
Make Champions League.
But it's only 2 games in. I still don't understand.
3 games in.
No, it's 2. He's right.
One.
What, like so what happens if you get to 10 games in and you're only at like 10 points?
In the Bundesliga, you can save your season 10 games in. You were never winning the Bundesliga itself, but you can still get into champion. What I'm saying is that like, in order for him to get fired after 2 games is insanity. Bob Bradley lasted longer at Swansea than Eric Ten Hag did. Like, what are we talking? Like there must have been a pure coup d'état in order for this.
I'm reading something now about from Simon Rolfs. So continue. I'll see if there's anything good here.
I know what I'm saying is like you say save the season, like wait 6 games, wait 8 games, like 2 games. I mean, Pep Guardiola should get fired after 2 games then after, like losing 2 games out of his first 3.
As Adam in the chat said, when you know, you know.
Well, you're talking about Roma with Juric. Like this is Bayer Leverkusen or 2 years removed from winning a league title. Like,
I mean, they're not the same team. They've had,
of course, no. They got ravaged.
Team's gone.
They got ravaged. No, for sure. But like, I don't know, man.
It is crazy to get fired like that in your first season. That's insane. Going once, going twice, going 3 times, Tommy. Okay. We will head to round the world. So the U.S. men's national team, as I said, we're in an international break now. So the roster is out. I mean, obviously there's a lot. We don't have to go line by line. There's a lot of just sort of debate about Poch's roster once again. Sort of some of the notable inclusions who actually are there. Serginho Dest is back. Noakai Banks, who is a guy that a lot of us have not seen. He's an 18-year-old center back from Augsburg in the Bundesliga. Interested to see what he can do. Obviously, Poch is turning over every stone trying to find a center back to fit into his system. Josh Sargent is back and still in unreal form at Norwich. And on the roster, we have both a Berhalter and a Klinsmann, which I thought was interesting, or at least fun. Now, some notable absences. This is where everybody had the sort of disappointment, unhappiness. Notable absences: Matt Turner for New England Revs. We assume he's just sort of settling in there. Gio Reyna, same situation with Gladbach. Wes McKennie. I don't know why he's not there. I guess maybe he's trying to get a move away, or he's trying to, solidify his role at Juventus. Yunus Musa, he just announced a move to Atalanta, so I'm sure that's what was going on there. Fuller and Balogun, Ricardo Pepi, are both getting healthy. Malik Tillman, I think both getting healthy and settling in with Bayer. Johnny Cardoso, Haji Wright, Tanner Tessman, Joe Scally. I mean, there's a lot of players here who I was a little surprised weren't on this roster. I don't know. Tyler, Tommy, or Tyler, you want to go first? Just any thoughts at all?
You say you're surprised, but I feel like there's always just, 3 or 4 guys who fall into this category, particularly midfielders, that are just going to be left out for either giving someone new a shot or giving somebody who is injured and needs to slide in there a shot or whatever it might be. So I'm not like, I don't know. I'm not putting a ton of stock into the guys who are left out. And Poch has been pretty clear about some of his decisions in terms of we know this person, we want to take a different look at this person. So there's nothing to me. And I don't, I'd love to get Tommy's thoughts in terms of people where you're just oh, this is somebody I think that is going to be a part of, that I thought was going to be a part of the World Cup 2026 roster. And this is sort of a black mark against that. I don't really see any of that going on because A, it's still too early, and B, it is, a couple of friendlies in September.
Yeah. Tommy, any thoughts on sort of the philosophy behind the roster here?
Yeah, I think he was pretty honest and we're taking one last look at guys. and any sense of urgency to your core group or your sub-core group of guys that you thought would be in this group going into the last 12 months before World Cup is, I think, an added bonus. I don't read too much into this.
So, I mean, we're now...
Actually, one thing. The thing I read in most to this, which I actually really appreciate, and it's pretty ironic that it's coming from him, he values the American player and player in MLS more so than previous managers. And yep. I have a ton of respect for that.
Yes. A lot of the Euro snobs on Twitter basically took the opposite
approach on that. But Tommy, I'm wondering if you think that it makes sense given on his style of play and where he comes from and sort of like, you know, you think about his original interview with Roger Bennett and Men in Blazers, where he was talking about like, you know, I want guys who are committed, I want guys who run, and just like MLS has become such a transitional and physical league. And like, those are the type of guys I think that he wants playing for him, you know, game in and game out, and especially at a tournament level. Like he wants gamers. And I think that MLS is kind of like full of those types of guys.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think I mentioned this before, like, the U.S. is in a tough space where you've got all these top talents that are born and raised in a European style, and you're trying to match that sometimes in CONCACAF. Like Mexico, I would say, kind of goes through a similar issue. Like it's a different style of soccer, and it fits him. But I think it honestly comes down to he seems a very humble guy, and kind of Bielsa-like. I think it has less to do with the style and him just being very humble and saying, good players can play anywhere. Like I value the player, regardless of where he is, and I think that's refreshing to see. So I'm just happy about that.
I guess the one thing that makes me nervous, and you know, I don't think this is a surprise, and I've seen a lot of people complaining online. We're now going to be through September, so we're going to be into October when the first chance to maybe get some semblance of a first team 11 out there playing together. Are you guys not concerned that we're still here and we're still not seeing this anything even close to a first 11, and we're still experimenting and trying to find guys? That doesn't make you nervous at this point?
No.
Okay. Tyler?
No.
Okay. I mean, it's not
Mexico.
like
look at Mexico in their Gold Cup. They had a 17-year-old who was probably not on their radar or even allowed to be on the radar 12 months before, and he's pulling the strings for them now at Gold Cup. Like, 12 months or 10 months is such a long time in soccer that things change. So I have no issue with it.
Jared, quick question from the Discord chat. Will Weah play left back? I think he started at left back, right, this past weekend for Marseille. Do you guys see him as a left back on the national team?
No, I think Robinson's got that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll leave it there. All right. I think it's time for the MLS Hit It and Quit It minute. If the Minute Man himself is ready to give us what he's got in the tank.
Always feels weird that I did not call a game this weekend, and now all of a sudden I have to speak upon this league in which I once worked. I have 2 weeks off with the international break and this whole Miami rescheduling nonsense. But anyway, let's get going, baby. Business portion of the season. We're knocking on the door of the postseason. October 18th. That's the date you need to know. That's decision day. And then 3 weeks later is my wedding. But that's not important. Speaking of Hit It and Quit It minute. All right, let's get to it. Let's start in Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, where the Charlotte FC continues to roll. I don't know. It's like 19 wins in a row at this point in time. They're just grinding them out left and right. Damn it, Patrick Ajiman. We don't need you, son. We got Idan Toklamadi. 2-1 to the good guys from the Crown as they defeat the New England Revolution and probably put their playoff hopes to bed despite a very good win last week against the Columbus Crew. Meanwhile, north of the border, in a game in which people just did not care about because both sides have just been woeful this season. Toronto won, CF Montreal won. NYCFC at home, needing wins, needing to stay above the playoff line, lose to DC United. That's just a bad look for everybody. Let's go to a game that really mattered. Cincinnati. Wait, I am just all over the place. Am I? No, I'm in the right spot. I'm going to keep going. I don't know why I thought I was, because it's August and now it's September.
Trust yourself.
PQL Stadium, Philadelphia Union. FC Cincinnati, top of the Supporters Shield. Big game. Philadelphia West is what FC Cincinnati has been called. Pat Noonan, of course, came through the Philadelphia ranks as a coach. all sorts of Supporter Shield standings on the line. Philadelphia get the goal, get a red card. Cincinnati cannot get it done. They continue to struggle in big time games at home. They've lost to Columbus, now Philadelphia, and the Union open up a 5-point gap atop the Supporter Shield standings and atop the Eastern Conference over FC Cincinnati. But we'll talk about San Diego in a second. Meanwhile, we need to talk about Red Bulls and Columbus. 0-0 draw for Emil Forsberg and company, as Forsberg was seen arguing with the supporters after the game as they are demanding some changes in the front office. Red Bulls are in danger of snapping that 15 appearance streak in the postseason. 15 years in a row they have qualified for the playoffs, and they're in danger of losing that. Sporting Kansas City, 4-2 winners over Colorado as they keep their playoff hopes alive, kind of ish, not really. St. Louis City at home against the Houston Dynamo, and Benny Olsen and company very much keep their playoff hopes alive with a 3-2 win. Austin FC 3-1 over San Jose in a big game right along the Western Conference playoff cutoff line. Nashville at home against Atlanta. Good Lord Almighty. I mean, you talk about a group that needed 3 points in Nashville, particularly at home, and you lose to Atlanta. Nobody loses to Atlanta except for like DC and Montreal. Jesus, what are you doing? Minnesota United at home against the Portland Timbers. Very good game atop the Western Conference. Portland got the first one. Robin Lod gets the equalizer. I didn't even expect Robin Lod to be a part of Minnesota United heading into the last portion of the season. I thought for sure he was out the window, but nevertheless, he stays on the side. He scores a big goal, and we'll head into the final game of the match day. It's a California Classico. LAFC at home against San Diego. Suns' first game at BMO Stadium, and Anders Dreyer spoils the party. This dude is a mother effing baller. Great goal to win it inside of the final 25 minutes, and Anders Dreyer gives them the game winner, spoils Heung-min Sun's home opener, and San Diego FC atop the Western Conference against all the odds. A team that I looked at and I scratched my head. I said, where are these guys from? What are they doing? They're on 56 points. Philadelphia's on 57 points, and we've got a proper battle for the top of the Supporter Shield race.
Well done, sir, as always. Now, before we move on from MLS, we do have to talk quickly about the League's Cup final. So last night, Seattle Sounders hosted Inter Miami and the Messi Circus, and Seattle just put an absolute beat down on Miami. By the way, Sounders, first of all, they're very good, and they were just dominant throughout the League's Cup. They're very worthy champions, but nobody's actually talking about the game itself. Everybody's talking about what happened after the game, and it looked like Sergio Busquets threw a little right hand. I definitely saw some people, wrestling and throwing each other doing a lot of this. And then, of course, to top it off, Luis Suarez just being being Luis Suarez and just going absolutely like feral, animal, and just losing his mind. And I think spitting on, it looked like, some coach or assistant coach or something. Security guard. Oh my God. I mean, what's going on? Like,
Nope. Let's not do this. Let's not give it air. I want to talk about Seattle first and how good they were.
Okay.
And how good Brian Schmetzer is, and how good Craig Weibel is in this front office, and how they have put together a dynasty. Okay, a dynasty. And if Pochettino didn't get the job, I thought Brian Schmetzer should have. Okay, because he is the most underrated coach in America at the moment. He's incredible. What he's done with this roster, given all the injuries that they have. Think about the injuries and think about the guys they did not have available on the field. Pariola, Jordan Morris, Ryan Kent, Albert Rusnak, all unavailable. Every single one of them for a League's Cup final against Miami. And they ran them off the field. That game was played at such a high pace and such a high intensity. Miami should have definitely scored at least twice in that second half. But Seattle are so good. Jackson Reagan, one of the best draft picks in recent memory. 4-year player, University of Michigan. He's turned into an MLS All-Star next to Yeimar, who continues to turn back the clocks, I think at 32 or 33 years old, and one of the best defenders in MLS. Jesus Ferreira, reborn Jesus with the Seattle Sounders, as he was, during barren years in the Nico Estevez era with FC Dallas. And then Osaze de Rosario, Paul Rothrock is this incredible story, and they were everything about this Seattle team is so much fun, and a sold-out Lumen Field, credit to Seattle. We could talk about the Miami thing in a second, but it should not take away from what the Seattle Sounders have done with all the injuries, balancing league play, still in the top 4 or 5 position in the Western Conference, and able to win a League's Cup final against Lionel Messi. One of the coolest stories in the world of football this past weekend.
Tommy, looked like you wanted to get something in, some other thoughts in there, no?
Nope, that's the story. Not
Yeah.
Suarez.
Very true. Very true. Shout out to Seattle. They just keep on doing their thing. Miami, though. I mean, what's the deal? Shouldn't they be better than this? Like, what are they just like that?
I think that is the deal. I think that's why you saw what you saw at the end of the game. I think that they thought that they like a lot of famous European players, and I'm not saying that you cannot compare Busquets and Suarez and Messi and Alba to previous flameouts in this league, whether it be Xherdan Shaqiri, whether it be Frank Lampard, whether it be Lorenzo Insigne, whether it be Federico Bernardeschi. You can't compare them to those because it is a different level, and there's a different level of commitment from those guys that we just mentioned. But I think that the way that the front office for Inter Miami has changed over, the way that Chris Henderson was treated, the way that they treat the American player, and the way that they have tried to do this their own way, do it basically against all MLS rules and principles. And I'm not saying rules in terms of like they're breaking them. You can have whatever opinions you want on that. But with that said, Tommy, I mean, like, I'm sure if you were playing in an intramural league and you had 2 or 3 of your buddies that you were playing with, but the rest of your team kind of sucked, and you guys were expected to win the league and win it every single year. And when you don't, it's incredibly frustrating because you've played and accomplished so much at such a higher level than these kids who barely played varsity high school soccer. And it's embarrassing. They got embarrassed in front of 60,000 people. Like, we talk about humans, and these guys are just humans. These are guys who have won World Cups, who have won Champions Leagues, who have won La Ligas, who have won Ligas. And Paul Rothrock beat them. Paul Rothrock. So, and I'm not saying that excuses anything, but I think that the story is like they're turning into legitimate crybabies when they don't get their way and when they're not winning, and they're blaming external factors and whatever you want to call it. But the fact of the matter is, it's like what they did after the game was disgusting, disgusting. And like, take your game check and go home. You've already won everything. Like Mikey said, and I'm not saying, and there's part of, I don't like how seriously they're taking it, or I don't like what they did in terms of how seriously they're taking it, but at least this shows that they care, right? Like Mikey had the line when we were talking about like intramural soccer, like playing men's league, like, and if there's a hardo who's like, trying too hard or whatever, and you're just basically like, hey pal, like this might be your biggest game on a Tuesday night in downtown Cincinnati, but it's not mine. Like, and I don't think that should be the mentality, but it's something along those lines for those guys where it's like, okay, we're not winning. We're not nearly as successful as we thought we were going to be, despite all of our accolades. But like, we're at the tail end of our careers. Let's plaudits to these guys who put on the show of their life in the biggest game of their life, and they beat us fair and square. Okay, so be it. We've won everything, and they'll never touch the level that we touched. Like, why isn't that the mentality? And I get as an athlete, like, you can't think that way rationally when the blood's pumping and the whole thing. But to be spitting on people and to be throwing punches and just the whole vibe of that group, and it's not just this game, right? Like, it's not just that game that's been going on, but it's very disappointing.
It's a bad look. Long story short, it's a tough look. All right, let's move on. Stoppage time, boys. Where we start where we always start, which is the overtrain. And unfortunately, we've had 2 bad weeks in a row, 2 losing weeks. We went 2-3 last week. Not good. Not good enough. I will just say apologies to the peoples out there. I will do better. This is a tough week with the international break. You really got to dig deep, but you know what? That's why we get paid the big bucks over here. So overtrain, 5-a-side, 1 game a day, Wednesday through Sunday. These games are all going over. Wednesday, we are starting right here in our own backyard, especially a couple guys in the Discord. Hartford is hosting Indy 11 in the USL Championship. That one is going over. Thursday, AC Horsens is hosting Viborg in the Danish Cup. Friday, we're going to UEFA World Cup qualifying, Ukraine and France. Saturday, got an MLS game that I love. St. Louis hosting Dallas. And then Sunday, we're going to Liga MX Femenil, where Tigres host Monterrey. Got to do better this week. Got to do better. Just have to. Tyler, what do you got for us on the Ivan Toney's best bet front?
I've been officially locked out of my DraftKings account. It doesn't like the fact that I've been to New York, New Jersey, and Cincinnati and Kentucky in the past 3 days and logged into my account. So I'm locked out. I'm rolling. Let's roll all of your overs into a parlay and call it a day.
He really is locked out. Tommy, what do you got?
Give me a sec. I just had to log into my fantasy football draft too. So
yeah, mine's starting in 15 minutes. By the way, do you think that I'm a fool for keeping Saquon Barkley while I have the number 5 pick?
Do you have to give up how does that work?
What do you have to give up? Yeah.
I have to give up my first round pick. It's basically who I probably would have taken anyway. He's a 4 or 5 guy.
Yeah.
That seems.
I think
it doesn't seem crazy.
I just have a hunch, and I just have a hunch is that 2,000.
Who should I take with my 8th pick? I'm drafting in like 2 seconds.
Oh God, who's on the board?
We got McCaffrey, Puka, Giante, Amon-Ra.
Puka.
All right.
Big Puka guy.
Sam, I got nothing for best bets on you.
It's perfect.
Well, we already got. It's a tough week this week with the international break and not the normal.
Tommy, roll with me on Sam's overtrained parlay. We're putting it all. He's going 5 for 5.
Yeah. We'll do that.
Oh, see, I appreciate that more than you going over or under on all 5, which you did to me one week and actually fucked me. So we're all rolling in the same direction here. I'm
do you think Stafford's going to be healthy this year? I'm on the clock.
I don't know about that. He's getting up there in age.
Yes, he's going to be healthy. Puka Nacua is going to have 20 touchdown catches, and you're going to be fine.
You got to diversify.
We'll do it. We did it.
You got to diversify. Diversify. All right, let's finish strong with GOAWs. Tyler, what do you got for us?
Brian Schmetzer, Paul Rothrock, and the Seattle front office for their messy jersey exchange for a Paul Rothrock kit, and Rothrock's goal, Brian Schmetzer's whole vibe, Lumen Field. Like, I am all in on the Seattle Sounders. They might even be my new favorite team over Minnesota United. I love them after that performance.
Are you trying to pitch Seattle trips? Way better.
I didn't get them all last year, and then I get thrown on a playoff game in November. So go figure. There's not much rhyme or reason to any of this.
Could be worse though. All right, Tommy, what do you got?
So Paul was going to be mine because Paul was my college teammate. So he honestly, he's a great dude. Family, great people. They're Seattle people. I saw a couple of pictures that he posted with him and his family on the field. Like, just very good people. Love their city. So that was going to be my shout and still is. Very happy for him. If I had to pick something else, I'm kind of stumped. I've never had my GOA be stolen. I got one. It's like a future here. Jonathan Rowe and Adrian Rabiot both got kicked out of Marseille for the fight. Both got new clubs and will play each other in their first game.
Syria. Yeah. And the first game in Syria is in Milan, where Rabiot went.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. Sampdoria, maybe?
Bologna.
Okay. Who's the one that got knocked out? I never actually heard who got there. Somebody got knocked out.
My favorite part of the story is the 17-year-old that's just passed out. And De Zerbi's like, we got a 17-year-old lifeless, and these guys are just throwing haymakers. He's like, I've never seen anything like it.
Oh my God, that's crazy. All right, so my goal is I'm going to give an honorable mention to just Scottish soccer. Soccer in Scotland had an all-time terrible week last week. All 4 of their teams lost in European competitions. Celtic lost in Champions League, so I think they got knocked down to Europa. Rangers lost, I think, in Europa. Aberdeen lost in Europa, and some Hibs, I believe, lost in Conference League. Just a terrible, terrible week for Scottish soccer. And basically it's a vicious cycle because the coefficient for, the country is going down because of it. And now they get worse, assignments and worse trajectories for their, like, now they're going to have, like, their best team has to play like 3 Champions League qualifiers as opposed to just 1. So it's like the worse you get, it's just a vicious cycle. So a terrible, terrible week for Scottish soccer. My actual goal is going to be the in-stadium announcer for a Romanian club, Universitatea, which is not how you pronounce it, Craiova. I don't know. It's a Romanian club. So the in-stadium announcer, who, like a lot of Euro announcers, stands, right by the coach's box down on the sideline. He got a red card in their Conference League qualifier against Beşiktaşehir for walking around and screaming into the microphone directly into opposing players, opposing coaches, and even referees' faces. And he did this like right in the middle of the game. It was very ballsy. He got, sent packing. So then he basically just went up into the stands and kept talking on the announcer. It was awesome. It was awesome. I love the commitment to, professionalism and pride in your work. Just a shout out to him. I don't even know his name, but good looks for him. That's all we got this week. Thank you, everybody. Tyler, Tommy, you guys are the best. Thank you to Dan Rapaport. Go check out all his golf stuff. Everybody in the chat, you guys are the best. If you're not in the chat, get in the Sam's Army Patreon so you can get in the chat. And by the way, open Mikey every Thursday. Stay tuned for that. You got to be in the Patreon. See you guys next week. Bigger and better, maybe faster and stronger. See you there.